Hey there, it's Laura here from makingcardsissun.com and welcome to another Saturday Sunday carding video. It's been way too long since I uploaded a video, but I'm here now and I can be more happier. So I am using some Fawn goodies in today's video, and I am starting out with the large stitched rectangle stackables dies to die cut a rectangle, and then I am also using the flower border die from Fawn today to do some inlaid die cutting. Since this is kind of an intricate die cut, it can be a little bit tricky to die cut that. So I am using the Sizzix Precision base plate to make sure that all of these little flowers are die cut the way they should be. So I die cut that once out of that white cardstock, and then I also die cut that out of some colored cardstock because I will be doing some inlaid die cutting and I wanted to create like a really soft colored little flower scene for this project. I'm cutting off those flowers using my EK Success Color Bee scissors because I only wanted to keep the green parts of that die cut. So I am using my ATG by Scotch to put a lot of adhesive onto a rectangle that I die cut using the same large stitched rectangle die cut set from Fawn. And then I am positioning that negative piece of the white flower border, and I will be using that piece to puzzle all of those little flower pieces in. So all of these pieces will fit like a puzzle. It's really fun to do this inlay die cutting technique. It's one of my favorites out there. Just cutting off the little edges that are hanging off there using my scissors, and then I'm cutting off those flowers again, but this time I am going to use those to finish my little flower piece. So I'm using some purple flowers, some kind of mint-ish colored flowers, and then some pink flowers since I just really love these colors. And I also think that these colors are just perfect for spring. Spring is my favorite season, by the way. So I am cutting those flowers, just adhering them. I used a lot of adhesive, so there's no need to use extra adhesive or anything. Just cutting the last flower. You could do this inlay die cutting technique with almost any die out there. I just got the flower border die from Fawn and I just really loved it so much. But at first I really didn't know how to use it. I actually wanted to color those flowers at first, but it was kind of tricky. And then I figured out, well, I could do this inlay die cutting technique very easily. It's a little bit time consuming, but I think that result is really worth it. Just putting the last bit of adhesive on the last flower because I needed like an itty bitty piece of that flower because I still needed to fill up the right corner, so I just did that. You could probably use liquid adhesive for that as well, and that would probably be even more easier than using the ATG for such a tiny little piece. So I'm also piecing in those little dots. I just kept these on the side. I usually throw these away, but whenever you are doing inlay die cutting, you have to make sure that you're keeping all of those little pieces. I'm using the adorable Chirpy Chirp stamp set from Fawn for my sentiment and for my images as well. And I am using the brand new mini MISTI tool from My Sweet Petunia to stamp my greeting. The mini MISTI measures 6 by 7 inch, and I just really love it because it's smaller than the original MISTI, so it's just a little bit easier to use whenever you're making cards. I have a prototype of the mini MISTI, so when you are going to be purchasing your mini MISTI, then the hinges will be differently. The quality is of course the same, but the hinges will be a little bit different. So I'm piecing together my sentiment from the Chirpy Chirp stamp set from Fawn, and I am picking that up with my MISTI tool, and then I am inking up my sentiment using some Memento Textile black ink. I like to use a MISTI tool for stamping sentiments like these because whenever the image didn't stamp like all nice and smoothly, then you can just go ahead and re-ink your stamp and just stamp that all over again because the stamps will be in the same position. So that's just really easy to do with this MISTI tool. I picked out some of the images from the Chirpy Chirp stamp set from Fawn, and I just put these all on my MISTI tool so I could stamp these all at once. I stamped these onto some Simon Says Stamp Ultra Heavyweight white cardstock. This is my favorite cardstock to use whenever I am doing Copic coloring. So I grabbed my Copics and then I started coloring. I am using the Y13 marker first to really saturate my paper to make sure that all of these colors will blend nicely. And then I am going to use the Y19 marker. This is my darkest marker. And I am going around the edges and I'm just kind of figuring out where I wanted the shading. Then I grabbed the Y18 marker and I'm kind of flicking my brush to blend that dark color with the lightest color. So I make this flicking motion with my brush, and that way I can blend these colors really nicely. Then finally I am using the Y13 marker again to blend everything together, and then you will have a nice colored little chick. So I'm using the YR16 for the orange details of the little chicks. And then I'm coloring that little paintbrush using V01. And I'm adding the shading using V05. I didn't blend these two colors together because otherwise the shading would disappear. Then finally I am coloring the jar using BG11. This is my favorite Copic color or Copic marker out there. I just really love that color. And then I am using the BG13 to add some shading. And I use the BG11 to blend that dark color with the light color. Then for the paintbrush, I just used the E55 marker to add some brown. I didn't do any shading because I was running out of time. But yeah, I also didn't think it really needed that much of shading. So finally I am piecing together my little scene. I used some dimensional adhesive to adhere my little chicks. And then I'm also using some pattern paper to add a splash of color. This is from the Avriel Sorbet Collection paper pads. Then finally I am adhering my little chick scene on there, and then my card is all finished. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your support, and I'll be back soon. Bye bye.